Hey everybody, welcome to another video review. So this one is of an older piece. This is the PCS, or Pop Culture Shock Collectibles, version of the quarter scale Robocop from the 1980s film, of course. So there's a little bit to talk about with the statue. Where to start? Well, Pop Culture Shock has been involved with a little bit of controversy. This is a company that's had some issues, and I don't really even know where they're at right now. I think the original owner, Jerry Macaluso, is that how you pronounce his name? I think he sold it, and now it's being managed by other people. I think Sideshow may have kind of taken control of it. But this company is really famous for taking a long time to sort of produce their statues. They usually put out this amazing prototype, and then they give you a pretty nice discount if you're willing to pay up front early, and then it takes them years sometimes to finally get the product in your hands. And this was no exception. Robocop is an old property, but it's a very popular one, and there's a lot of nostalgia for it. And there aren't a lot of great, I think, statues for it. There's a lot of really, really good, like Hot Toys, like action figure representations of Robocop. Hot Toys has come out with a couple pretty nice ones, 1/6 scale, and then Enter Bay put out a really nice one as well at the quarter scale. But in statue form, because those other ones like a battery, and I think the Hot Toys one has some die cast parts, but a lot of it's plastic. So if you want a statue version, there really wasn't a whole lot. And before this was made, the only one really available was the Sideshow quarter scale, which had a lot of problems. It was way too skinny. It was not really film accurate. But at the time, that was the best sort of, you could get. So when PCS set about to create what they, essentially announced as their definitive Robocop, there was a lot of excitement. This is the exclusive version. I don't actually have the other arm to show you. It's boxed up. But that one has another arm, switch out arm, where he's pointing straight out and shooting that way. But again, with all these switch outs, the question is, where do you put them, right? So I just have it boxed up again. So this is the pose I prefer with him because I think it's one of the most space-saving versions. The pistol is in the air. If he was to extend his arm, it would take up a lot more space. So, nice understated base. You have Robocop here. It is very, very tall, however. Okay, and I think when you want to analyze it in terms of the faults, the base does seem to be a little bit overboard. I mean, of course, the prime offender of that will be Prime 1, who just has always created such ridiculously large and over-the-top bases. But this one by PCS also seems a little bit unnecessarily thick and huge. In addition, they decided to incorporate it with the light up, which I think is a bit of a controversial decision because, number one, I don't think they have a battery version with this. So the only way you can get it to light up, you have to actually plug it in like so. So I have this connected to power. And then if you plug it in, the only light is this little strip between the top and the bottom here. I mean, that's all it is this little tiny light here, which I think is kind of a missed opportunity, and it's just frankly weird. All this wiring and everything just to give you this little tiny bit of light around the bottom of the base. It's kind of one of the bigger fails, one of the bigger misses of this piece. And so again, I don't really like that, and I never use it. So turn that off, you won't miss it, and then I'll unplug it. So there's that. Nice base, I think reminiscent of the logo, of the company that built Robocop. I forgot its name. Is it Omnicore? I think Omnicore, something like that. And now getting to Robocop himself, one of the nice things about this is hand sculpted, believe it or not. So Jerry did a great job hand sculpting all of the detail of the armor. It's very sharp. I'm going to take a close-up look here at the feet. You know, one of the things that people kind of complain about the original Sideshow version is that you know, the detail of the armor is a little bit soft, you know, not very sharp. And here, and I think that the armor detail here is pretty nice, pretty sharp. Not soft by any stretch of the imagination. Kind of moving my way slowly up the legs. And here you go. You can actually see OCP Police 001, nicely sculpted out. Here's the iconic chest plate. Very, very heavy, solid piece. Nicely put together. The arms come off, the head comes off. And according to Jerry, this is basically the most accurate version of Robocop that's out there. He had a lot of access to the original stills. Of course, the most important here is the visor, the shape of the head, back and front. Again, sort of the nice little detail of the gauntlets, the gloves. This is from the 1980s, you know, not very complicated design, but so iconic. This is the rubber here, right here, the rubber suit. Okay, so aside from the fact that this thing took, I think, almost 2 years to get to me, here's a very nice look at the gun, the Auto 9. This is plastic. Just to let you know. You know, so aside from the fact that it took almost 2 years to get to me because of the, you know, essentially the pyramid scheme that PCS was operating at that time, where they were just basically taking pre-order money from one project to fund completion of another project. There's a couple things about it. I think people criticize the fact that he's an awfully chunky looking Robocop. You know, they're saying, you know, why is he so thick? You know, especially around the middle, it just looks like it's a little bit heavy set. But according to Jerry, you know, this is absolutely the correct dimensions. It is screen accurate, and maybe on screen it looks a little bit thinner, but you have to remember that, you know, Alex Murphy had to actually fit into the suit. So Peter Weller, who plays the character Alex Murphy, Peter Weller is a very skinny guy, but he still had to, you know, be put in the suit. So this is not like Iron Man with Robert Downey Jr., where special effects and CGI is a lot more advanced. And Robert Downey Jr. actually spent a very minimal amount of time in a real suit. I mean, Peter Weller had to put on this thing and act in it, which is something I don't think he gets quite enough credit for. And so, you know, you do have to fit inside it. And so this is chunky, perhaps in statue form. Maybe they did a little bit of wizardry on film, but this is accurate. It is heavy, and Robocops that are too skinny are not screen accurate. So I don't have a problem with sort of the size of him and the thickness of him. One thing that people do criticize is that the bust or the helmet, you know, that the skin tone is way too dark. This is almost brown, too tan, so they kind of, they need to lighten this up significantly. This is all hand sculpted, so we're not talking any digital files or anything like that. Hand sculpted by Jerry Macaluso. I think he did a pretty good job with the, you know, the lower half of Peter Weller's face. Not the best likeness, but again, you know, you get a lot of leeway because you don't see the eyes, you know, so you don't see the entire composition. It would have been neat if you could give us a removable helmet, but we don't have that. And so just judging by the lower face, I think it's a fair sculpt. I mean, not a killer one. And of course, unfortunately, the paint job, was not very accurate. The lips don't have enough really red, and it's a little bit brown. So the paint job here is not the best. And sort of on the same topic of the paint job, one of the really, really hard things to get right on a Robocop is the color of the plate of the armor. Obviously, it's silver metallic, but if you'll see the movie, there's almost like a purplish bluish sheen along it. And you can see that they did do a very nice little spray of that. You can get the hint of that purplish gray here. They're all around. I think there's a little bit also on the feet area. You can see it if you look hard. It's most noticeable right around here. And then it's like horribly noticeable on the back of the head, where it looks like they just painted it purple almost, which is not very good. It's supposed to be more of a iridescent or light effect. So that wasn't the best. Now this is a resin piece, and I do feel like the production paint job was only average at best, a little bit mediocre. It does kind of look almost like plastic, which is not really what you want to see. And so my opinion is that the overall sculpt is fantastic. I like the detail, I like the sharpness of the features on the armor, all of this stuff. So I think Jerry did a pretty good job there. I think it is, movie accurate. I think it has all the nice little bells and whistles down here. They can put to the back of the cows. And all of that's very, very good. I feel that the base is a little bit lacking. I think the light up is ridiculous. The base is a little bit too thick for its own good, a little bit unwieldy and wasted. It's just extra weight. It doesn't really add anything to the sculpt. And I think the head sculpt is good, not fantastic. And I think the paint job is mediocre. I mean, overall, it's still an okay statue. I still enjoy it. I still think it's one of the best quarter scale Robocops we've got in terms of accuracy. A truly magnificent or truly phenomenal repaint could make it a lot better. But for now, yeah, I mean, I think that many people feel that the Enter Bay action figure is still the best quarter scale Robocop out there. I don't own it, so I don't have much of it. I can't give an opinion on it. But in terms of the weight and the feeling of solidity of the statue, this is, by the way, is where the arms come off. It's got real weight to this thing here. So for all of that, I think this is still the statue to go. But I think a better one could technically be made. The question is if anyone's going to take the time to do so. I think Chronicles has the license now for Robocop Collectibles, and they're making some stuff with busts and all that sort of thing. But they haven't really turned out anything yet. So as it stands, this is it. And according to Jerry, it's really hard to do production Robocop pieces. I mean, almost as hard as Predator. And he says he didn't really make any money off of this piece. I think when it's all said and done, with all the money that had to be invested to get the paint job right and redo things, and the factory had to be told explicitly what to do, and they increased the cost, I think he basically barely broke even, and if not lost a little bit of money on this project. So it was sort of a passion project. I still think he has a lot to be proud of, but it just goes to show you a great Robocop piece because of the armor and what it requires to make it avoid looking like plastic is really hard to do. He essentially requires almost Iron Man level of fidelity, which I think at the time that this piece was produced, the factory just simply was not able to replicate. Maybe in today's day and age, 2019, when you're having Cinema CAD or Extreme Creature Collectibles, giving Iron Man pieces with like true automotive gloss effects, a Robocop might be feasible. But then the question is, how much money are you going to sink into something like this to justify the cost, and how many diehard Robocop fans are there really who are willing to spend that money for this? I don't think more than 300 pieces of this exclusive was made, and it took quite a while to sell out. I mean, it wasn't like a day one sell out. It took, I think, months for it to sell out, and the regular version, I think, might even have been still available, and they were even moving at a discount. So again, that kind of shows you the appetite for it is just really not there. So Anyways, as far as that goes, this is the PCS quarter scale Robocop statue. I'll try to mess with it. I think there is only 3. Yeah, I think there might be another set of arms with him actually having one arm, having his left arm up, and then this gun extended. So I think there are 4 arms actually, 2 pairs of arms and then 1 head. And I have the other pair, of course, boxed away. But I think the other set, this hand is up in the air, and then this elbow is extended with the gun. So, anyways, there you have it. So I hope you enjoyed that and enjoyed kind of looking at my fair review of this piece. And until next time, do take care. I'm gonna back up a little bit so you can see the whole thing and see the size.